So which platform or platforms is best for real estate lead generation moving into 2022? Well, I generate over 10,000 leads every single month for my clients, my students, for a lot of people. So this is literally what I do. So I'm going to answer that question in this video so you have a clear path forward of where you should be investing your money. What's up, everybody? It's Eric B. Preston here. I'm a licensed agent with eXp Realty and also the founder and CEO of Agent Launch. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe if you're into real estate marketing content. That's pretty much all I talk about. But without further ado, let's get into this video. Be sure to drop any comments or questions you have below. I get asked this stuff all the time. Where should I be investing my money? And there's always people out there who have an agenda trying to sell you something. I'm no different, but a lot of feedback I get from people is that I'm pretty genuinely honest about where I'm coming from and what I do. So let's get into the content here. One thing I want to make sure you understand, a little backstory on me. I do run a Google Ads agency. Full transparency. We help people with Google Ads and YouTube and a variety of different lead generation techniques. I used to be a Facebook ads guy though. So I was always a Facebook ads guy. I basically worked for a marketing agency as the head of their marketing and sales kind of education department. It was my job to go out to brokerages and actually present to agents on how to effectively run Facebook ads. So I had done probably 150 workshops in person all over North America on how to run effective Facebook ads for real estate agents. That's what our agency sold. I was very well researched. I ended up getting into real estate. I ended up spending a lot of money on Google, a lot of money on Facebook. For my own business, I've spent over 200 grand on Facebook ads. I've spent, probably into the millions now on Google ads. And so I feel qualified to answer this question is what I'm trying to say. So really, when you think about lead generation online, you're really thinking of more or less two categories. And that's what I'm going to break down for you here. So basically, these are the platforms people think of is Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok's kind of come into play as a viable option. So when you look at this as a real estate agent, you kind of wonder like, hey, where should I be putting my time? And a lot of people's first gut check reaction is like, I need to be everywhere. I want to be everywhere, but that's not the best strategy. I actually think that makes you a jack of all trades and it makes you lose focus. And as a real estate agent, the biggest problem a lot of people have is they lack focus because we're pulled in so many different directions. We're supposed to be a salesperson, a marketer, a realtor, a lawyer, like all these different things. And when you try to market yourself on every single platform, you're just going to get lost. You're not going to be good at any of them. So my advice is to understand the platforms at a fundamental level, choose one or maybe two, focus your energy on them. Okay. When we think of these platforms, there's a key difference I want you to understand. Google and YouTube are fundamentally different than Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So let me explain. When I look at these platforms, I'm going to draw a very clear line between them. Okay, so if we draw a line between Google, YouTube, and then Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, what is the difference? Well, Google and YouTube are basically search platforms, okay? When they're search platforms, it means people go to these platforms to search for content, right? Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are social platforms. So people go to these platforms to engage with each other, right? To consume content, things like that. So that's a very important distinction to make because this is why I have a preference of one towards the other. So if you think about it, I'll give you a little bit of an analogy for Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, okay? So running an ad on Facebook is very similar to putting a billboard on the side of a highway. You are targeting a specific location on Facebook. That's how you target, is you draw a circle basically around somewhere or you target a full city, whatever it may be, and you run an ad in that specific area. So think of it as like putting a billboard on a highway. You're choosing that highway. Now your ad in real estate, because there's a lot of restrictions on how you can't basically target people on real estate anymore very effectively. There's ways to do it for sure. I do it. Lots of people do it. I'm not saying Facebook ads are, you're not able to effectively target people at all. It's just not what it used to be. Basically, you put a billboard on the side of the highway and you're basically showing that ad to everyone who drives down that highway. It's not very targeted, right? Now, if I'm driving down a highway, just because I see an ad for McDonald's doesn't mean I actually want to eat McDonald's. I haven't eaten McDonald's in probably like 8 or 9 years, but I'm going to see it anyway. And McDonald's is paying to have that viewership and that brand awareness. So that's something it does do, is it does give you some brand awareness in a very busy space. Real estate. There's a lot of real estate agents. But the reason I use the highway analogy is because driving down the highway is a busy place. You got your partner beside you, your kids in the back, there's billboards everywhere, there's exit signs, there's traffic, there's a lot happening. And that's very similar to what it's like running an ad on Facebook or Instagram. There's a lot of distractions. It's a very distracting place. So you have to really stop people in their tracks, right? Get them to stop and pay attention to what it is you're selling. And that's sometimes hard to do. I mean, with the right coaching and techniques and, things I've learned over time, like there is definitely proven formulas to do that. But the person going to Facebook or Instagram, they're going there because they're bored and they want to consume content generally. Think of every time you pull up your Instagram or your Facebook, it's almost just like a bad habit. You're like, oh, I'm just going to go check what my friends are doing, or I'm bored, or whatever it is. There's not a lot of intent behind it. And so Google and YouTube are more like a storefront. You go into a store with some intention, right? And on Google and YouTube, that intention is called search intent. So instead of just search, I'm going to call this search intent, which is the big defining factor of how Google and YouTube are different. So if you look at Google, Facebook, and then social media. So if you look at Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, this is really like a highway, and Google and YouTube are like a storefront. So when you walk into a store to buy sunglasses, a t-shirt, whatever, you're not always going to make the purchase, but you walk in there with some intention, like something brought you into that store. So when you go to Google, you generally go to look for something. When you go to YouTube, you generally go to look for something, maybe to educate yourself, maybe to find out a question, maybe to find out which platform is best to generate leads in real estate, right? Maybe why you're here. So they're for different purposes. And if I were to wean down, like, what is the best platform for lead generation, which is why you are here, I just want to make one thing clear first. I was a Facebook advertising guy. That's what I was known for. If you actually go on my YouTube channel, a lot of my biggest videos are around Facebook still today. But I changed my entire business over to Google because I knew it was better, because I was doing both and I was seeing the difference. So which platform is better? Well, I think the best strategy is an omnipresent strategy, right? So this is what I'm helping people do these days, is set up Google Ads strategy, because it'll give you a consistent flow of leads. It's predictable. Okay, you're paying for it. You're paying Google to show up above Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, all these different platforms. Because you're paying them, you're going to get there consistently, so you can get a predictable flow of leads. Okay, that's why Google's important. And you get leads that have search intent, meaning people come to Google to look for homes for sale, and they're either going to click on your ad or probably Zillow, Realtor.com, Realtor.ca if you're in Canada, whatever. So you're basically hijacking that search traffic that carries a lot of intent. These are people actively looking for properties for sale, where if you're advertising on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, you're literally targeting people who are just kind of browsing through their friends' photos, looking at funny videos and killing time, right? So what kind of leads do you want? Well, we know statistically, Google leads convert at 3 times the rate of Facebook leads, statistically. Now, this is I talked to an executive at actually Remax who told me their national campaigns, this was the result at the end of it, was 3x conversion rate, right? And Facebook was a lot harder to work because there's just a lot less intention. They're way more top of funnel. Google, you can genuinely target people who are a little lower in the funnel. Usually they're a little more top of funnel too. They take some nurturing. But the best part about Google and why I love it is because, especially in today's market, relocation leads are the most powerful leads, because if someone is coming from city A and they're moving to city B, they don't know anyone in city B. So if you think about this, when you have someone going from city A to city B, let's just use an example. Someone's moving from New York to LA. So if they're to look for a home in New York, they probably know a lot of realtors, or they know someone who knows realtors, or they have a friend who used a realtor and they're asking for recommendations. But if they're going to LA, they don't know anyone. They might, but unlikely that they know a realtor in LA. So what do? Well, they go onto Google and they start looking for homes in LA. And as an advertiser, we can actually target people looking for homes in your area who aren't from your area. And those are the leads that we're getting a lot of big wins with. And believe me when I say this, I have a lot of clients doing 5+ deals a month consistently, like a lot. People that use our systems that have Google Ads and an inside sales agent to work their leads for them often are doing 3 to 8 deals per month. Very, very common. Not a strange, abnormal result at all. My sponsor at EXP, Jason, does 200 deals. He's going to do 200 deals this year from Google Ads, which is crazy. So the stuff works. We know that. But again, if you're just looking at a raw lead generation strategy, what is the best platform to generate leads? I would say Google. And the reason is simple. You get a consistent flow of leads, of quality leads. You just have to put in the systems in place to work them. However, if you don't have other things in place, your Google ad strategy isn't going to work as well. Because what happens when you start calling or reaching out to these leads? Well, they probably go look you up. And if you have no testimonials on your Google My Business, if you have no social media presence, they're probably not going to want to work with you, and they're probably going to move on to the next person. So an omnipresent strategy is more or less the way to go. So let's talk about YouTube. Google is the best place to generate consistent leads. YouTube is the best place to generate high quality leads and build trust. And that's why my program is basically, and by the way, if you want to discuss working with us, you can go in the description. There's a link to go to agentlaunch.com, which is my company, and you can apply to work with us there. We have a suite of products. Like if you want to do it yourself service, we have a bit of a higher level consulting program if you want help implementing and systematizing your business. So go to agentlaunch.com. You can click on get a price, and you can fill out an application and see if we want to work together. So anyways, YouTube is something I'm very big on. Like it's something I coach agents on weekly as part of my program. It's something I promote everyone take a stab at. It's really a blue ocean because a lot of people are too afraid to get in front of their camera like this and actually make content. YouTube, the problem with YouTube, and this is what a lot of people who sell YouTube won't tell you, is that YouTube is hard. And it doesn't have to be as hard as you think. However, getting in front of camera and making a well-structured video that people are going to engage with and watch and that's going to generate you leads takes time and energy, and it takes an investment in yourself, and you generally want a good mentor for that, right? But the dividends that YouTube pays are absolutely massive. I would say about 85% of my business to date comes from this YouTube channel. And we've had a lot of success with it. And the reason is quite simple. Even though YouTube won't generate you a consistent, predictable flow of leads, especially right away, because you can put so much energy into making one video and it doesn't get the traction you hoped. And then you can just make some random video that you didn't think that was that good, but then it ends up getting a lot of traction. And as long as you have your good call to actions in place and whatnot, you make your YouTube videos properly, you will generate leads from them. It's about consistency over time, but it's not predictable. And that's the point I want to make. Google is predictable. Facebook ads are predictable. You can generate a predictable source of leads. I would just recommend Google because you generate higher quality leads and you're getting leads with search intent. YouTube's the same thing. So my new program basically teaches you how to generate leads from Google and YouTube, and then leverage your YouTube videos to help you convert your leads. And I call this my SV3 framework. Generate your leads from search, use video to build trust with them and warm them up, and then use 3 points of contact in order to get in touch with them. So that is phone, email, and actually social media. So that's my new framework I've developed that has been working really, really well. And it's mostly focused on Google and YouTube. So yes, I do have a bias towards those platforms because I literally know they work better, and I built my business around them for that reason. So even though I have a bias, I was a Facebook guy and I moved my business over to Google because I knew that this was more or less the way to go. So that being said, as I said before, I think an omnipresent strategy is what you really want, because if you do this well, all of these elements, like all of these platforms, are going to work well together, because what happens when someone Googles you is really important. So if they Google you, say you generate a lead on Facebook, and then they go Google you and they see your Google My Business has 35-star reviews, and then they see you have a YouTube channel with helpful videos about what it's like to live in your area, and then they see on Instagram you're, looking kind of cool or whatever, and maybe they see you on TikTok, like they're like, oh, this person's the real deal. It gives you social validation. And so that's what's really key. When you use these together, you get social validation, which is ultimately what people want to see before they work with you. Because I'll leave you with this thought before I go. When's the last time you bought something on Amazon without reading the reviews? So think of the value of the last thing you bought on Amazon, okay? What is the value? Amazon, probably like $50, let's say. And how many reviews did you read when you looked at that? I would say on the average person reads like 5 to 10 reviews, and also looks at the collective review score. So if you read 5 to 10 reviews for that $50 item, translate that into buying a house. How many reviews do you think someone's going to read about you before they use you to buy the biggest thing they're ever going to buy? Well, they're going to read every single review you have. So make sure you have enough of them to convince them, because there's an effect, and I don't know a word for it, but there's an effect that happens when someone sees so many reviews, they just blindly trust you, right? And I shouldn't say blindly trust you. It's not blind, like they're reading reviews. If you show someone like 50 positive reviews, they're just going to be like, oh, no brainer. This person's going to be awesome to work with. So you need to create that effect in your business. Anyways, the best platforms, in my opinion, if you're looking at them individually, are Google and YouTube. The ultimate best strategy is to use an omnipresent approach where you have your, this is my opinion, you have your consistent flow of leads from Google. You use YouTube as a lead generation source, but also as a way to convert your leads from Google and from YouTube to build trust with them. And in my course, I actually have a lot of these drip campaigns where they leverage these specific YouTube videos I'll show you how to make that you put into your drip. So instead of texting someone and emailing someone, you're texting them a link to a YouTube video where they're gonna go watch your video, you're gonna build trust with them, then they're gonna start watching all your other videos. And trust me when I say this, I get on a lot of calls with people who've been down the rabbit hole on my YouTube channel and watched a bunch of my videos, and by the time we get on a call, I've already built so much trust with them, they know they wanna work with me. And that's not to brag or boast or anything, that's just the reality of how this stuff works. So consistent flow of leads from Google, use YouTube as a lead generation conversion source, and use social media as a social validation tool. That's the strategy you want to go with. I hope you guys enjoyed this. As always, be sure to subscribe. Make sure you hit that little bell if you want to get notifications when I do put out more content. I am vowing to be more consistent with this moving forward. Again, if you want to check us out, go to agentlaunch.com. You can click get a price and apply, and we'll see if one of our programs works for you, and we'll give you a call directly. But thanks for watching. As always, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, everyone.